Hey, what's going on? Hey, Blake. Hey, Panetta.
Hello.
Again. Hey, Parker.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. Long time no see. We got a lot to talk about. First, Blake, Benedict, tell us a little bit about yourself. When did you join Cadets? Why did you join Cadets? Where do you go to school now? What do you major in? And what are your plans for the future? Blake, do you want to go first?
Sure. Hey everyone, I'm Blake Puzon. I used to be a cadet at 754. I joined the squadron in 2015 and aged out in 2019. I had a pretty short cadet career. Joined when I was 15 years old. Actually, partially because of Ben and a couple other friends. So during my time in cadets, I was able to do the glider pilot and power pilot courses. And then in my last summer, I was a staff cadet and a glider instructor in Comox. And then after I left cadets, I started my university career at the University of Waterloo in Ontario. I'm majoring in science and aviation, and I'm just started my second year. So, yeah.
Sick.
And what about you, Benedict?
And so for me, my name is Benedict Pineda, and I was a cadet at 754 from 2013 to 2018. So I got a good 5 years there in the program. Let's see. Most of my time in the program, I was a part of the cadet band, and I have played in the band along with Timothy Wang and Parker Lee. Let's see what else. After I finished the program, I got into the aircraft maintenance course at BCIT, which I was actually inspired to join the course because of one of the summer camps that I went to one year, basic aviation. It was BATAC, BATAC, I forgot what it was overall. So I took that trades course at BCIT for about 2 years, and I just recently graduated, but unfortunately because of this pandemic, it's definitely been a challenge trying to look for a job related to aviation, but still going and still pushing through with it.
So from the sounds of it, both of you guys went into fields that were like pretty closely related to aviation. Would you say that you joined cadets like because you already had that in mind, or did cadets kind of inspire you to go down that route?
For me, it was 100% because of cadets. So I joined cadets mostly because of a friend from 637 Aero Squadron. I was at the airport in Vancouver doing some plane spotting. So I was just at the airport taking pictures of airplanes, and I met him there. And he told me that he was a cadet going on the glider course that summer. So I think it was really like an inspiration to me because I was around 14 at the time, and I was just thinking like if somebody relatively the same age as me could get into the course and like learn how to fly an airplane, then what's stopping me from doing the same? So that was like really what pushed me into joining cadets and like getting started in aviation. And I knew like from ever since I was a kid that I wanted to be a pilot. So yeah, it just seemed like the right way to get started for me.
And let's see, for me, in terms of my interest for aviation, at first, I wasn't really that into it. It was really something that I started to like when I joined the Air Cadet program. And like I said earlier, my interest really grew after going into BATAC, basic aerospace technology and aviation. I forgot the acronym anyways. So with this whole summer training course, this is where I learned the different kinds of careers that you can actually do in the world of aviation. And something that struck me was the aircraft maintenance course. Just being able to open up aircraft and see what it is and how everything works. It was just something that caught my attention. And so that's why, ever since that was when I kind of my interest started to grow, and thankfully after the program I was able to take a course on what it was that I learned from the program.
Okay, so in simple words, Blake, you fly planes, and Benedict, You fix
Build.
planes.
Guess so. Yeah.
Take care of when I
Um,
screw up the landing. So there you go.
Yeah, I have a little question about aircraft maintenance. Could you tell us more about what it is, what an aircraft maintainer does?
Well, I mean, in a day of an aircraft mechanic or aircraft maintenance engineer, there's definitely a lot of inspections that you have to do for the aircraft, and they're definitely very important because, I mean, you want to check if everything's there, if nothing is missing, and also you want to inspect the structural integrity of the aircraft because, of course, if there is a crack on, let's say, an airliner like a 777, then that crack can obviously definitely become bigger if, let's say, the aircraft is pressurized. So there's in this whole career, there's definitely a lot of inspections that you have to go through when you're working on it. Also, paperwork is another big thing with this kind of work because if you have to maintain paperwork in order to keep track of what it is that is on the aircraft and what are the things that need to be done on the aircraft. Also, a big thing about, I would say, aircraft maintenance is the teamwork because it's most of the time it's I mean, yes, you will work on aircraft maybe by yourself, but for the most part this is really a type of work that requires you to work with others, work in a team.
Yeah, when we're
And I think
talking,
that-
so
sorry.
when you're in BCIT and you're doing team projects, do you guys work in groups on big airplanes or just like solo one-seaters, two-seaters?
Actually, it's a mix of everything. So we have in the program that I went to, we have different levels, and each level has a different type of has specific courses built designed for that level. So you actually get to learn about a wide range of aircraft. So we started off with small two-seater Cessnas. We also had some 8-seaters, and then also we had a Bombardier CRJ aircraft, which was more of the airliner size with 50 plus more people. And we also have aircraft at BCIT that are, we also have a Boeing 737, which is also another large airliner. So you actually get to work on a wide range of aircraft from small to big, because a big thing about the program is that's where you can learn as to, once you finish the program, what it is that you want to work on once you get into the field. So if, let's say, you like small aircraft, then it's good because you got that training. And but it's also good if, let's say, you want to get into the big stuff, then you also got that training with the larger aircraft. So
Absolutely.
it's like a wide range overall.
Where is BCIT? It's a very dumb question, but where's BCIT? Where do you guys hold a big Boeing 777?
So
Boeing 747?
yeah.
Where do you guys like? How do you fit that into a building?
Yeah, so the thing with this is actually BCIT has multiple campuses all over the mainland, and the one that is related to aerospace is in Richmond, which is only about a 10-minute drive away from from YVR International Airport. It's in Richmond. That campus has a large hangar in it, where we actually store like, I think, like 20 to 30 aircraft in there, and it's pretty it's pretty packed. But I'm pretty surprised how they can put it all in that hangar.
Yeah, obviously before a flight takes off, right? You don't want it to miss a whole engine, right?
Yeah.
What are some other things you check for? Like, in movies, in TV shows, we see a lot of like plane crashes are caused by a missing screw. It's just tiny things like that. Is it true? Like, is the stereotype true? Like, if a plane is missing a screw, is it going to crash?
Well, I would say that also depends on whether that screw or that part is an integral / structural part of the aircraft. So if, let's say, okay, you have an aircraft and the engine mount, like the part where the engine connects to the wing, if, let's say, that mount is missing a screw, then yeah, okay, that thing's gonna vibrate a lot, and without that screw to absorb that vibration and to keep that thing from moving, then yeah, okay, something something bad is going to happen. But also, it really depends. There are some parts where if it is missing, I mean, of course, you don't want it to be missing, but
Mm.
if it is missing, then it's definitely not good, and it can actually lead to a disaster.
Yeah.
There's a list of things on an aircraft that are required, and there are actually some things that aren't as well. I mean, you want it there, but it's not as integral of a part. But of course, in overall, in the end, in an aircraft, you want everything to be there in its place.
I mean, like if you like look at it from a pilot's perspective, right? Like um, Ben was talking about like paperwork and things like that. And honestly, when I go and fly an airplane, the only thing I do is a quick walk around inspection that takes about 10 minutes tops, and that's the same regardless if you're flying a 172 that's 4 seats versus a 777. Maybe the 777 just takes a little bit longer, but it's just a quick walk around that the pilots do. So at the end of the day, I'm putting a lot of faith in Ben, and that making sure that he's doing his due diligence and like putting the paperwork um, in, because I I don't want to be having a plane that has its wing fall off in the middle of the flight. I mean, obviously that's a bit catastrophic, but in the grand scheme of things, I'm putting a lot of trust into maintenance engineers. So good
So
job.
then, as a pilot and a mechanic, do you guys have to often like communicate with each other before, like prior to a flight? Do you guys have that chance to like communicate with each other?
I'm personally like, I mean, pilots directly talking to engineers at my stage of flying, not necessarily, but I know at least in like the airlines, sometimes you might have a component that is preventing you from like actually departing safely. So you'll actually have to call the maintenance engineers to see if they can fix it on the line. However, it doesn't really happen all the time.
Mm.
I don't know if Ben has something to add to that.
Let's see. Something that they always tell us is that, I mean, I do believe that, yeah, communication is a big part. And it's not that communication isn't just within the mechanics. So it's definitely important that for pilots as well as mechanics to collaborate with each other, because yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you want the aircraft to fly. You both have that common goal of making that aircraft fly in a good condition. So I believe that it's definitely a big part. Communication between pilots and mechanics is a big part.
I think I was thinking about like just verbal communication, but now that I think about it after Ben's point, like a really big thing, at least with my experience in flying so far, is reporting defects and any issues with the airplane. So even if it's something small, like the flap lever doesn't extend the right way, or there's something wrong with one of the instruments, it's not really indicating correctly, or something along those lines, where it might not even be like something that's super bad or super wrong, like a light's broken or something. It's really encouraged within like our school, or like for pilots to report that, no matter how small the issue is. The worst case scenario is that the maintenance engineer would say like, it's not really a big deal. That's not really a problem that we have to take care of. But yeah, no, like if it is a problem, a pilot bringing it up would be like the first step to like getting that problem solved. So we don't want a problem to get bigger and bigger until it like becomes this really catastrophic accident or anything like that. So yeah.
Yeah.
So I know before you said you wanted to fly commercial aircrafts. Is this still your goal today?
Yeah, no, for sure. One of the reasons I picked Waterloo in the first place is that they have direct partnerships with Air Canada Express, which it's owned by the Jazz Aviation Corporation, and they also have a partnership with Sunwing Airlines as well. So immediately after grad, there's the opportunity to actually work with either of those airlines as a first officer. So that's where I'm hoping.
Until you get to those airlines, what are you flying right now?
Right now, I'm flying the Cessna 172 and the Diamond DA40. So they're single-engine propeller airplanes that have 4 seats, for both of them. Once I'm trying to work on what's called my commercial pilot license right now, which allows me to actually fly for money and actually get hired to fly an airplane. that's going to be like a 3-year process. So it's a lot of flying for that. And then in between there, I work on the multi-engine rating. So we use an aircraft called a Piper Seminole for that. And that's a twin engine airplane. So you learn the characteristics of flying an airplane that has more than one engine. And you also learn something called your instrument rating, which allows you to fly without actually having to look outside the airplane. And it's a completely different set of rules where you're only like looking at your instruments, which you use these rules whenever you're flying. You tend to use these rules when you're flying like a commercial airline, or you're if you're general airline purposes, or if you're flying commercially, you're probably going to be flying under the instrument rules as opposed to looking outside.
This is completely out of my expertise here, but why is it that some commercial planes, when they fly, they have to purely rely on the instruments? Is it because they fly above clouds, or?
It's not necessarily that they purely rely on their instruments. It's just, well, I should probably explain. There's 2 separate sets of rules for aviation. There's visual flight rules, which is VFR, and instrument flight rules, which is IFR. So if you're flying visual, it just means that you're flying under a set of rules that allows you to see the ground, and you have to be like maintaining contact with the ground and a certain distance from clouds and things at all times. Whereas if you're flying instrument flight rules, you're allowed to fly essentially in very, very low visibility at 0 cloud. Like you can be flying inside of a cloud even. So obviously, like flying instruments is a different type of flying than flying visually. I mean, flying visually might just be like, oh, there's the lake, and I'll just follow it to the other side, or follow the river to the other side. If you're within a cloud, then you can't do that. So that would be where you would have instruments, and there's different ways of getting around like that.
So have you ever relied on VFI or
IFR?
IFR?
Yeah, pretty much when you do your private pilot license, which if you get on the Power scholarship course, I think it's called the Power Pilot Training course now. They renamed it recently. But one of the requirements for your private pilot license is to do a couple hours of instrument training where you wear something called a hood. It looks pretty funny. It's like this thing that like restricts your vision from outside, and your instructor beside you will actually like make sure you're not going to like hit a mountain or something. But they'll teach you how to like actually look at your instruments and like fly just using that. It's kind of like a video game almost, but yeah, that's kind of what it's like.
Actually, that brings up a good point, because you did both glider and power.
Mm-hmm.
Do you how much did those courses like help you now, or how much did those give you like a head start?
Well, the glider course was, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, the glider course doesn't really do much for your aviation career, like in terms of like your actual career progression. However, on that note though, glider teaches you like the really basic skills that you need for a pilot. So it's not really like teaching you how to fully fly like a powered airplane, because it's a glider, but it's more about like actually getting the first skill sets. It's like the training wheels almost to like actually fly a bigger airplane. Most people, when they learn how to fly, they just go straight into powered airplanes. But having the opportunity to fly gliders really gave me like that first foundation for like, okay, this is how like aviation really works, and like how an airplane like kind of flies. And then from there, it was a lot easier, I found, to transition my skills into powered airplanes. And from there, it's like the PPL, the power, like the license you get after power is a requirement to become like a commercial pilot. So it's like you get that qualification. It's not just like a badge that you wear on your uniform. No, like you actually get a pilot's license. So that's like one of the big things.
So would you say like gliders kind of like go-karts, and powered airplanes are like actual cars?
I mean, even go-karts have an engine, so
yeah,
that's true.
But like gliding is a really great way. I mean, I was an instructor. I'm still an instructor now for teaching people how to fly gliders, and it's a really, really great way to like be introduced to how an airplane flies. And like the big thing about gliding is that you only have one shot at everything, right? Like if you if you screw up a landing and you're like on your approach in a powered airplane and it doesn't look right, you just apply power and go around. You could just go around and try again, but you can't do that in a glider. It's a one shot.
Wait, that sounds a little scary.
One takeoff, one landing per flight. But yeah, no, it really teaches you to like make really good decisions in an airplane as well.
Mm.
That's kind of the big thing about gliding.
And then you also did gliding sessions with cadets, right? You've flown cadets and gliders?
Yeah, so after the glider course from the summer, you can come back and you basically serve as a ground crew member for essentially weekend gliding sessions with the squadrons. So 754 has certain days that they come out, but essentially every squadron in the Lower Mainland will come to either Pitt Meadows Airport or Abbotsford Airport on a given weekend, and they'll sign up like 15 cadets like we do. And at first you're just a ground crew member, so you're just helping like strap the cadets in and giving them the safety briefing and helping them get out once the flight's done. And as a trade-off for, obviously that's volunteer work, but then as a trade-off for that work, you get to go solo and you actually get to just go fly for the fun of it. And essentially you just keep gaining hours that way until you have the minimum requirement to get your familiarization pilot rating. And that rating allows you to actually fly cadets and like give them like their first fan flights and stuff like that in a glider. And personally, for me, that was like my big highlight in cadets, and like actually giving someone their first ever glider flight. Thought that was like really a cool thing within.
So how many hours of glider experience or power experience did you have before going to Waterloo?
Gliding, for gliding, I did the glider instructor course, so I had about 100 hours in gliders at that point, which is, I mean, it's still the same amount now because I haven't flown a glider since last summer. But yeah, like so around 100 hours of gliding, and I think for powered flight I was around 80-ish. But usually most people will finish the glider course with about 13, and they'll finish the power course with about 45 hours.
Do you think that helped you get into Waterloo? Are most of your classmates air cadets as well? Did they have
a good portion of my friends are cadets. Not all of them, but like a good portion. But you can actually start the program at Waterloo without doing your pilot's license at all. So there are people that are just coming from zero experience whatsoever. So it's kind of like a mixed range of experience.
Sorry, what was the program called again?
Science and aviation.
Science and aviation.
There's 2 aviation programs.
Are there physical requirements for you to get into that program? Like you got to be a certain height to be a pilot?
I'd say no. I think, no, like for the glider course for cadets, that's the only one where I really saw like gotta upgrade. Anyway, but that's the only one where I saw like any like actual height requirement for gliding. That's like the only one. I think for gliding you can't be taller than 6'3" and you can't be shorter than 5'1", I believe.
Oh, but you're pretty tall.
Yeah.
I remember
Benedict,
you standing at the right marker position all the time.
But yeah, no, like once you're not doing gliding, there's really no height restriction. Not that I'm aware of, at least. So.
And Benedict, are there any height restrictions for your program?
No, there isn't actually. Short or small doesn't really matter. Actually, a funny thing is that the smaller you are, the better you are getting into fuel tanks. Stasis. So yeah, it's not so bad. I mean, if you're short. If you're tall, I mean, it's good. Sometimes you might not even need a step ladder to reach some things or some inspection panels. So hey, I guess there's advantages and disadvantages for both.
People who you study with are most of them air cadets as well, or what is that like?
Let's see. From what I remember, actually, yeah, a great amount of them were cadets. I would say maybe in the class that I was in, I do know of students who were, I think maybe like 3 of them were cadets, including me, so like 4 of us. And I also see some others from other classes who are cadets because I've seen them from previous courses I've taken in at cadets. Yeah, so I mean, there's definitely in the program that I'm in, there's a wide range of experiences for the students. And also age. For me, I started when I was 18, but I also have classmates who are well into their late 20s, early 30s. I also have someone who was in their 40s and already has a family. So it's it's a wide range.
I mean, if you want to learn, you can learn. No one's stopping you from learning.
Definitely. Yeah.
Actually, one thing I noticed here, all 4 of us were wearing glasses.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
So actually, I was thinking about it when we were talking about the physical restrictions. So maybe not about height, but are glasses or is eyesight like a big problem in the aviation field? Is that a problem that you guys have come across?
So for pilots, the general consensus is that as long as your glasses can correct you to perfect vision, then you're good to go. But what people tend to run into problems with is if they're colorblind. So color blindness is like a really big issue for pilots. You can still fly, but there's certain restrictions that might be applied to you. And it also depends on the type of color blindness you have. I think if it's like red-green, you're not allowed to. You're actually just not going to be allowed to fly at all. But color blindness is more the bigger issue than like actual. I'm personally nearsighted. I have really, really bad vision. So I still qualify for the highest medical certificate in order to become like a commercial pilot. So like,
I'm not sure if you know the answer to this question, but does eyesight restrictions, keep you away from going to the military, into the Air Force as a pilot?
That's the other thing. Like if you're flying commercially and you're flying like civilian world, it's different restrictions in the military. Military, I believe the restriction is minus 4.0 on your like because there's like a maximum correction you can have.
Oh, there goes my dreams. Yeah.
For a pilot, at least. I don't know about like the other. Like I know a guy who didn't qualify to become a pilot in the military, but now he's an air combat systems officer, and he fully intends like after like spending some time as an AXO, he can get like laser eye surgery, and then he can maybe apply to be a pilot later on. So I wouldn't like just because your eyesight is limiting you from like within a military perspective, I wouldn't like let that let you down. There's still ways.
Yeah. Since now we're talking about the Air Force, Benedict, the studying aircraft maintenance, there are opportunities for you to work for RAC, right? Royal Canadian Air Force. RCA, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, definitely, aircraft maintenance is a big career in the RCAF. I actually, for us at BCIT, we have employer info sessions every now and then, like twice a year, and in one of the companies, well, it's not really a company, but the RCAF actually comes there and gives a little info session on what you can do with this with the studies that you're receiving from BCIT and how you can continue on forward if you want to transition into the Air Force. I mean, there's also other companies there that are. I mean, let's see, what other companies are there? I mean, there's a bunch of airlines as well as flight schools. Or engine shops, but yeah, I mean, definitely like with the type of training that I got from BCIT, it's definitely like something that I can use if I do want to transition into the forces.
Mm-hmm. And if you do transition into RCAF, would you be considered a military personnel?
Yeah, you are actually. I don't really know much about it, but what they do if you do choose to go down that path is you do still have the training from BCIT, but at the same time, they still do want to provide training for you, like their own military aircraft maintenance training, because I mean, sometimes standards can differ for the civilian world to the military world. So there's
Yeah.
still some things that they want to teach you that, like some things that they want.
Yeah, now you want to learn how to load machine guns and rockets, right?
Oh yeah, I guess there's
That could be part of it.
if we could say a little extra, some extra tech inside the cockpits if, let's say, you need that. So yeah.
Let's talk crazy experiences for both of you guys. So Blake, I know you have a lot. I've heard a glider story from you, I remember.
Yeah.
Tell us, what's your most crazy experience in the field of aviation?
In the field of aviation, I think like the craziest experience is the entirety of the glider instructor course. It's really funny, honestly. Essentially, the glider instructor course it's actually a CF course, so it's designed for people who are CIC officers or CIs. So it's pretty rare for a cadet to be able to do it. But they do send like a couple of cadets onto the course. As far as I know, it's only BC who does it. But yeah, I was able to get onto it. But the course itself is split into phase 1 and phase 2. So phase 1 is essentially just making sure that you're still really competent in flying the glider and really proficient at it. And then phase 2 is the actual instructor training and teaching you how to teach in an airplane. And I mean, coming from cadets, I understand the anxiety of teaching like a class in front of people. And then you realize you get into an airplane and then you're trying to teach it. It's called an air lesson. So instead of like BOM, it's AL this. And I've never been more terrified in my life. Like it's like every time, like essentially the instructors will just act like the dumbest, most like incompetent student possible. And you'll tell them like, oh yeah, just gradually bring the stick back. And then the next thing you know, the plane just like shoots straight up and like you have to like learn how to take control and things like that. The scariest one for me is when I got to the lesson where I actually have to like teach the cadet how to land. So this wasn't like actually, this is still like training me to become an instructor. So yeah, we're coming in and like it's like the perfect approach, and I'm like I start to get comfortable, which is never something you're supposed to do as an instructor. You're supposed to always be like super alert and ready for anything, because at the last second, it's like a perfect approach, and like the last second, for whatever reason, he closes the spoilers, which help keep the airplane flying at a safe speed and at a safe descent rate. And he just yeeted the stick like full back, and we just shot up another 50 feet, which was like absolutely terrifying. And yeah, so I had to like take control of like the last second and safely land the airplane myself. But yeah, that's like basically the entire course is just like this really crazy experience.
Right. So when you're an instructor teaching others to fly, sometimes they teach you to take over when things go wrong, right?
It's this fine line of knowing when to take over, because if you take over too early, then the student doesn't learn anything. But if you take over too late, you die. Right. So,
yeah, I guess it's a really thin line that you have to follow, because it is life and death, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. You told us a story about the strap getting caught.
The flight suit zipper?
Yeah, you got to tell us about that.
So this was when I was on the actual glider cadet course. So I wasn't an instructor yet. I was still learning how to fly. Here, let me get a plane because I have to explain this properly. We do a maneuver called a spin in an airplane, and it's essentially where the airplane goes really nose up, and one of the wings stalls, so the whole airplane will kind of like enter this maneuver like this, if that makes sense. So it's called a full spin. We learn it because a lot of people, if you fly the airplane like in a certain way, you'll enter that maneuver like really close to the ground. So that's obviously, hopefully you can tell that means you're probably gonna hit the ground if you do that. So the idea is that we practice it to prevent that from happening. But yeah, so this is my first time. entering like a full spin and like getting that experience. So I wasn't actually flying the airplane. My instructor was flying the airplane in the back, and he had controls, and we entered the spin. And the moment when the airplane like actually started that like downward spin motion, on the bottom of the instructor's flight suit, there's a zipper, because we have a zipper on the top and like the bottom, but like on the bottom zipper, there's this like little cord that wraps around the zipper, and that cord managed to fling up into the air and onto the stick. So like it was essentially jammed in that position. So the proper maneuver, what you're supposed to do when you want to like get out of this spin is to like slam the stick forward, like really just push it all the way forward. But like in trying to do that, the zipper was stuck. So it was like this jamming maneuver. And like I'm in the front, so I had no idea what was going on. But like essentially we just kind of went down and right back up and then down again. So really, I mean, scary experience. But yeah, that's I survived. It's all good.
We're all glad you survived.
Yeah, we're glad you survived.
The result of that is that we wrote a flight safety report talking about it, and then this zipper is on not just on like cadet flight suits, they're on like every flying officer's flight suit. And there's like a mandate that was posted all over the flight safety program, and like the Canadian forces saying that like if you're a pilot, you can't have that like zipper toggle on there. So everybody had to cut it off because of that one incident. So
There you go. You potentially saved many more lives.
yeah, I mean, like if a glider crashes, that's just like two people, right? But if it's like I don't know, a C-130 or something, then yeah, that's a little different.
Blake,
So-
my hero.
So before you talked about the zipper story, I was gonna ask Benedict any crazy experiences you've had in your engineering field.
Let's see. So based on what I've known in school, it's not really much, but our instructors actually tell us a lot of stories of what happened to them when they were in the field. And yeah, just to tell you, it's definitely not pretty. There were some pretty serious injuries and some deaths here and there. Yeah, so I know. So okay, so I have one instructor who told us about a story about how there was a dad who was holding his kid on his shoulders. The kid was sitting on his shoulders, and they were approaching a helicopter. And so keep in mind that okay, so
No.
Okay. This is
I mean, it's like the propeller is the propeller is actually slowing down, but keep in mind, even if it is slowing down, it's still pretty darn fast. So
okay.
the dad didn't notice it, but when he was getting closer towards the helicopter, well, you can kind of already tell what happened there. But yeah, the kid just
Oh,
slight. So
I
yeah.
didn't like where this was going, and I
Yeah, no, it's yeah, safety is a really big thing in
okay.
aircraft.
Next question. I'm kidding. Please go on with your story.
Yeah, no, it's definitely like it's pretty serious stuff. So safety is a really big thing, and they always tell us about it, and they tell us about safety through their based on their experiences and what they've seen on the field. There was also one actually. I was working on a project on a propeller hub of I forgot which aircraft it was, but it has a governor, a prop governor, which helps change the pitch of the prop, so it makes it coarser fine. So the thing is with that, inside there's a little there's a spring, but keep in mind the spring is really, really strong. So the class before us, what they did was the teacher specifically told them not to unscrew a specific set of screws. But when the teacher was walking around in the hangar, he saw them unscrewing exactly what he told them not to. And so he got really mad because keep in mind what he said was they unscrewed all of the screws except for one, and if they had unscrewed that last one, that prop hub would have actually exploded open, and that spring would have actually shot some parts towards some people who were working on another aircraft nearby. So he told us that story because when it was my group's turn to work on that project, he specifically told us not to do what that previous class did.
So moral of the story, if your instructor is telling you not to unscrew something, it's probably
Yeah.
a good idea to not unscrew it.
Yeah,
Do
I mean,
not
it's
screw it up.
important to it's definitely important to listen to what it is that they want you to do, because if you don't do what it is that they tell you to do, sometimes it can actually lead to someone's death or someone's serious injury. So yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, to the future aircraft maintainers out there listening to the podcast, go
Safety
go
first.
back 5 minutes and listen to what he just said again. Okay, don't screw open unnecessary screws. Do not screw it up.
I mean,
And
like this is
also,
the whole safety,
yeah.
like the whole safety topic in general. Like it's not just like aircraft maintenance. Like aircraft maintenance is a big thing, but like pilots and like people who are working like around the airplane, like probably some of the level ones who are watching this, hopefully they've gone gliding, and you know we have our fair share of horror stories as well, where you know cadets are like walking in front of tow planes that are moving. It's this level of safety that everybody shares. We don't want stuff like that to happen, and if it's already happened, we don't want it to happen again. So like if you go to the gliding field, everybody's going to be telling you like don't be on your phones and like make sure you're paying attention to what's going on, because you know you don't want to be that guy that becomes a human blender. Like it's not fun. So
And safety checks, like you guys have to do a lot of safety checks like prior to flying, and then do you guys have to do more after flying as well?
oh yeah, big time. Like I haven't gone flying now for 3 months, so I've been hitting the books as well. So I just recently printed these checklists. These are the checklists that we use in the Diamond DA40. It's a lot. So these are the normal ones, which are, it's fine. We read it like as we're there. I don't need to memorize this, but these are our emergency ones. So some of these are like power loss in flight, like engine failure after takeoff, cabin fires and stuff like that. So some of them are like just things we need to memorize in terms of like emergencies and things like that. So
have you guys, by any chance, watched the movie Flight?
Oh yeah, I have.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's.
This is not a cadet appropriate movie, by the way. Do not watch it.
Do not watch it.
I need to search
However,
this
I
up
have
right
a
now.
question.
An 18 plus kind of thing, I guess.
Yeah. So in the movie, the engines shut off.
Yeah.
And the pilot managed to reverse the plane. Is that possible?
Is it possible? Yes. Is that the thing you're supposed to do if you have like a dual engine fire? No. There's actually this really great video on YouTube of a 747 pilot like going over that scene in the movie and like talking about like every little thing that's wrong with it. But yeah, no, it's definitely some Hollywood stuff that's not very real. If you want a really good aviation movie that's like realistic, go watch Sully. It has Tom Hanks in it, and it's
That was based off of a true story, right?
that's based off of a true story, exactly. So yeah.
Hey, to be fair, Flight was based off of a true story.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, it was. Except no one survived. Except the pilot didn't survive. It was based off of a true story. So like the plane actually was inverted for a few seconds, but then it crashed, and there weren't any survivors.
Oh, okay.
That's what I heard. That's what the internet said. Yeah, I buy it.
Nice.
Any other favorite aviation movies from you guys?
Top Gun. Actually,
Yeah, I mean, that's
on the
like-
glider course, Top Gun, there's a tradition where we have a book called From the Ground Up. If you're in aviation at all, you'll know what it is. But it's this book that you use to study for your license. So the night before you write the pilot exam, like there's a written component of the flying exam. But the night before you write that Transport Canada exam, there's a tradition where everybody will go into like this little theater that we have in Comox, and we will be in our PJs and we'll watch Top Gun. And then after we've watched the movie, we'll put on our flight suit and we'll put that From the Ground Up book under the pillow. And we sleep wearing our flight suits for whatever reason. But it's always been a tradition, so there you go.
Well, I think the Top Gun Maverick, it's a sequel, right? I think that's coming out
too.
this year. So from now on, when you guys do that tradition, are you guys gonna have to watch both movies?
2 movies.
I was really hoping that it was gonna come out this summer and we'd be able to watch it like instead of the original one, but now it's delayed till December and the cadet camps are. But yeah, it's all good. Next summer maybe. I don't know. That's something we'll have to discuss.
Okay, funny story about me. I've wanted to be a aircraft maintenance engineer as well. Like since the very start of cadets, I wanted to work on aircrafts, work in the field of engineering. And next year I'm going to film school.
What changed, man?
So kids, if you're listening, no plans is set in stone. Just remember that things change. The career in aviation is very hard. Personally, I applied for the aircraft maintenance course in the cadet program, and I did not get in. Wait, Benedict, by any chance did you do the course?
Oh, actually, I was just gonna say that too. Funny thing, I actually did not get into that course. But I did get into advanced aerospace, but due to some family reasons during that year, I wasn't able to go. And as well as academic reasons, I just had to do some other things. So yeah. But I mean, I guess do go for the those scholarship courses in cadets. They're very helpful. But even if you don't, it's it's not. There's still something you can do afterwards in cadets, like what I did at BCIT. So definitely, it's something you can give a shot if you'd like.
I might as well put my 2 cents in. I also went for the advanced aerospace course and I didn't get it either. So you know what? We've all had our fair share of failures. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's fine.
Yeah, no, I mean the big thing, especially within aviation, is that I know like because of COVID, it doesn't look like it right now, but even because of COVID, like if you look at every major economic downturn, so like the 2008 financial crisis, 9/11, and all of these things that really impacted aviation as a whole, what you see is that like right now we can see that not as many planes are flying than before, but once the economy recovers, it comes up to much higher than it was before. So we're already expecting that even though like we're in this like really bad spot right now in aviation, there's still going to be a lot of demand. Like right now, like I can kind of feel for Ben that he's looking for a job, but it'll come soon enough because planes are going to be flying again, and they're going to be coming back like even more than before. So again, like not on the pilot end, it's like I don't remember the exact statistic, but like there's a really, really large amount of pilots that they need because a lot of the older guys are retiring and people are getting more and more airplanes and more people are traveling. So aviation's where it's at. There's a lot of things happening.
Okay. Surprise, guys. So we also have another special guest on the podcast today, and he's about to join in just a second here.
Oh, boy.
A surprise guest?
Who this?
Who is it?
I wonder.
Drum roll for this guy. We've got Ricky Wang on the line. Let's go. Hey, how's it going, Ricky?
Not too bad. Not too bad. How are you?
It's so good to see you. Thank you for joining us mid-podcast. Still great to see you. We haven't seen each other in so long. I know you also go to Waterloo with Blake, right?
Yeah, but I barely see him anyways because we're in different faculties and all that.
Yeah, and I'm sure we have a lot to talk about. So, Ricky, please introduce yourself. When did you join cadets? Oh, sorry, when did you join cadets? Why did you join cadets? What school do you go to now? What do you major in? What are your plans for the future?
Dude, that's a lot to introduce, but okay.
Ben and I did it fine. You can do it too.
Yeah. All right. So hi everyone. I'm X1 Officer Wang. I joined cadets in 2012, and to be forced to join, but then after a few months or so, I kind of found an interest in cadets as well through the aviation side. So that's why I continued with cadets. I left cadets in 2018 because I was going to university. So now I go to University of Waterloo. I'm studying mechanical engineering, so more of like the technical side of things. And I hope to get into the aerospace sector in the future. So maybe along the lines of like Bombardier, Cessna, Textron, Boeing, so sorts of like that. But yeah, that's me.
And
We've
I've
got-
noticed
no.
that we have one more guest that also wears glasses. So we
Yeah,
now
I was.
have everyone once again
Oh,
wearing
yeah,
glasses.
everyone.
Now we got
Yeah.
5 glasses in the chat. Well, I see some very big brains in this call. So
Big
let's.
brains.
I see at least 3 very big brains. I'm not sure about the other 2, but let's talk aviation. Let's talk engineering. Let's be geeky. Let's be nerdy. Let's talk about all that stuff. Ricky,
Yeah.
talk about your major. What is that you guys study?
Well, my major is mechanical engineering, so it's I would say more of like the classical engineering type. So what you would think of like moving objects, kinetics, dynamics, and all that. And you also study like statics, so stationary objects. And I guess it's more of a flexible type of engineering because it's really like applies to mostly everything. So if you want to go into different sectors in the future, you can.
Mhm.
So we learn a variety of things, such as like coding. We also learn like what I mentioned before, statics, dynamics, the classic engineering type courses. And we also do fluid dynamics, finite element analysis, if any of you know what that is. But it's pretty much like simulations and all that. And you also do electrical things as well.
Oh, this video cut out.
Civilism. Okay.
Oh wait, what?
You just
So
cut out.
What'd you guys miss?
The last like
you
15
said
seconds.
you learned about something mechanical as well.
Dude, that was like 5 seconds ago. I said like so much stuff. Okay, anyways, but yeah, I went into mechanical engineering because wait, is it still cutting out?
We can't hear you. We can't hear your audio, but you're.
Is it still cutting out?
I think it's
a bit
good.
choppy.
Hello.
Yeah.
It should be good now.
No video.
Okay, what if you could you move a little bit, move from left to right?
It's just
Okay. Okay.
Internet's
Ricky, what if you turned off your camera? We love your face. You're very handsome. But what if that would improve your audio quality? Ah,
Oh no, it was working fine like a second ago. So
yeah. So,
Oh,
hey Ricky, are you able to hear us?
I'm back.
Good.
Oh, nice.
So mechanical engineering, you might have to dumb it down a little bit for us here because we have a lot of level 1, level 2 listeners. People are just starting out in cadets, and people
or
who
you
are
could just
interested
dumb
in
it down for me and Warren Wang.
Yeah,
I don't know.
it would be very helpful.
You guys hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can hear you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that was pretty much a brief introduction. So engineering, I went into mechanical because it's very flexible, and I hope to go into the aerospace sector in the future. So yeah, my experience so far has been pretty good, and I'm liking it so far.
Okay, so let's talk about your career. So when you're in your career and you're working on planes, what do you do with the plane? Do you design the plane, make the plane, fix the plane?
It really depends on what you like to do. So you can do pretty much all of the above that you just said. So my aspect is more of probably like designing. So designing the airfoils, the structures, the materials, and all that, and doing simulations on the performance. So doing FEA simulations and doing fluid dynamics simulations and all that. So that's more of my side of my interest in that side of things.
Yeah, there you have it, guys. We have a person who can design and make the plane. We got Benedict that can fix the plane and maintain the plane, and we got Blake here who can fly the plane. We're full house. You guys are a team. We are the dream team, well, other than Parker and myself. But
We're the
we have it all
passengers.
right here in this call. I think Ricky
So
is.
full circle, like Ricky will make the plane, and then I fly it, break it, then we'll fix it, and then Ricky will design another one, so it's
Yeah,
better.
he'll design a better version, and then the cycle will just continue.
Yeah.
That's how technology advances.
Cycle, I guess.
I also was on the power course with Ricky, so like we did power together, so he can also.
Okay, so not only Ricky knows how to make and design a plane, he also knows how to fly a plane. Is that correct?
Can confirm.
If only he could. If only he could have good video and audio.
Okay, anyways. Ricky,
back?
if you're able to hear me, did you do the glider course before your power course?
Oh, it's gone.
Hey,
Yeah, I can hear you.
did you? I think we just have a very long delay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ricky, if you can hear me, were you able to complete the glider course before going on to the power course?
Yeah, my internet connection is really choppy for some reason today. I don't know. COVID-19. Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, third time's the charm, Warren Wang.
No, I think we just have to wait 5 seconds and then we'll hear the answer. Ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Wait, I'm back. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, great.
Yeah!
Yay. What did I say? Okay, so my question was, Blake here just said you took the power course with him.
Yeah, I did. I took
you-
the power course in 2018 with this guy.
Did you take the glider course before taking the power course?
Yes, I did. I took the glider course in 2016, and then I took the power course in 2018. And the 1 year in between, I staffed at Albert Head, just to take a break from aviation for a while, you know, think about some other stuff. And then I went back and took power in 2018. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So Parker and I and myself, we're still in high school. We're about to graduate in about a week. What is college life like for you guys? Ricky, do you want to go first? What are you doing in college?
Waterloo.
Well, right now I'm taking courses online, so that's fun, I guess. But no, it's really what you make of it. It's honestly like kind of cliche because a lot of people say this exact same thing, but it really is what you make of it. So if you want to like study all day, then of course that's your choice. But you also got to go out and have fun. You gotta like make friends, meet new people, go out and get jobs. So I'm in like the co-op program, so I continuously am searching for jobs every 4 months. So that's also an experience because it's kind of like what life after your like schooling career is like. So that's a good experience as well. So but overall, it's been really busy, but it's also been really fun and a good experience so far because you just do something new like all the time, for me at least.
I have some friends going to the co-op program as well, not in mechanical engineering specifically. What is that like? What is the co-op program?
So like the co-op program is kind of like an internship program with your school. So some schools may have it differently, but my school has it starting right after your first year. So some schools, I think they start in like third year or something like that. So you get less work experience. But pretty much in a nutshell, it is just a work and study program. So you still get your normal degree and your normal like study terms and all that. But alongside your studying, you also get work terms, which you can go find a job. You can use your school's resources to find a job. You can use like all your connections to whatever, find a job, and then just mostly find a good work term experience that suits your career or suits your interests, so that it'll sort of help you transition to like the work life and also build your interests along the way. So right now I'm on my I just finished my second co-op term. Right now I'm in school, so I'm taking courses online. And in September, I'll be my third co-op term.
And is there a lot of opportunity to do co-ops that are like more aviation related?
Yeah, no, so yeah, for sure. Because it really depends on how heavy how heavy you value it. Because some schools like Waterloo, they have a system which is called like Waterloo Works, but who cares? It's just a name. But it's pretty much just a system where a bunch of employers will go to this system and list out their jobs, list out their postings, list out their offerings and all that. So then you can use that, or you can pretty much just go online, use your connections, and like find a job elsewhere. So right now in like Waterloo Works, there's a bunch of choices for aviation. So companies like Bombardier, Boeing, I think not Boeing exactly, but like Bombardier, there's Textron and all that. So all of those are like listed there, and it's free for you to just go and apply.
So you can put yourself out there, but resources also come to you. They come to the school. Oh, that sounds fun. That sounds cool. Other than aviation, do you guys get opportunities in other tech fields like Tesla, NASA?
Oh yeah, for sure. That's like the common like theme. Like everyone's mostly, yeah, I would say everyone pretty much is going for like Tesla because it's a big company that comes to our school and lists their postings. They have a bunch of positions there. It doesn't even have to be like engineering related. They have like business positions. They have like marketing. They have I don't know, whatever, pretty much anything else you can think of. It's a big company that comes here. So and NASA as well. Like NASA, or not NASA, because NASA only hires U.S. citizens. So that's a limitation if you're a Canadian citizen. If you have dual citizenship, then good job. You're lucky. But like, but like on the contrary to NASA, you have the CSA. So CSA also has postings on our school database. So the Canadian Space Agency and a bunch of other like governmental agencies. If you're interested in working for the government,
is SpaceX an option? Considering it's not a government.
SpaceX is also like NASA. They only hire U.S. citizens.
Okay. Well, I guess Elon Musk wasn't a American citizen, so he couldn't join NASA. So he just started his own, right?
He's not American.
I guess.
Start your own, Ricky. You got this.
I think you don't have to be a U.S. citizen, but you have to have like a green card. I think that's what
permanent
it's called.
residence.
Like a J1
Oh.
visa. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's talk university applications like Waterloo, BCITs. These are the good top tier tech universities that most Canadian students want to go to. And if you're a listener and you want to go into aviation, tech, automotive engineering, this is a section that you want to hear. Let's go with Benedict first, BCIT. How do you get into BCIT?
I mean, for me, it was it was pretty much it was a pretty straightforward process. I kind of just went online and then just printed out some, or no, actually I didn't really print it out. I kind of just made an account for BCIT and then just filled in some specific information about myself, like name, address, residency, and all that. Now, this might not apply to all courses, I'm not sure, but what I did was we did have to take a short mechanical aptitude test, and you should at least have, I think, a minimum of 75% for the test. But honestly, for the most part, it's like grade 8, grade 9 physics. So it's not really difficult. But of course, I mean, they just want to see if you are capable of figuring some things out, having some common sense, how if this gear turns, how will this other gear turn clockwise or counterclockwise. Yeah, so just basic science.
And how's the course load there at BCIT? How are you holding up?
So
I know you've graduated.
I just graduated, but what I loved about how my program went was actually was that it was a good mix of both in-class lessons as well as actually working on aircraft. Now, it's not like you don't work on the aircraft at first when you're new in the first few months, but you do get to do some things with sheet metal and some more and some other materials such as composites like carbon fiber and resins. You mix that together. So mornings is usually we have our lectures, and after lunch, that's when we can actually get to apply what we learn in class to projects that we make or to projects that we do on the aircraft.
Cool. So BCIT, it's a lot more hands-on, right?
It's definitely hands-on, and that's the thing that I loved about it, getting into the course. And
you learn like a lot quicker how to do things. Like you learn more about on the practical aspect.
Yeah, definitely. It's so nice because I mean, of course, part of part of your learning is definitely getting to do the actual work itself, and I think that doing that course that I did, it was nice because you could learn it in the book, mm-hmm. but you could further increase your learning with actually doing it mm-hmm. on the actual aircraft.
And what is the job searching like?
Let's see, job search. Now, in terms of job search, I would say that since the campus is at Richmond in Sea Island, it's actually, I think it's pretty good because when I was in school, what I would do was actually, if let's say I had some time before classes, before 8 a.m., or let's say I had some time after school, I would actually drop off my resume and cover letter to facilities around Sea Island, all around the South Terminal, and also near the international part of the airport. There's definitely a lot of different companies out there, and now unfortunately because of this pandemic, it has slowed down a bit, and I am still making phone calls, but a lot of the times they are saying that employment it has definitely come to a halt, and just try again in a few months or so, and still applying right now.
Yeah, I wish you the best of luck on that. I'm sure as the economy gets going, the aviation industry is gonna just rise up, fly high, take off, right?
Yeah.
If not, whenever Ricky starts his business, he'll definitely hire you.
Okay, let's move on to Waterloo. I might expect a little different answer from the both of you guys because you guys are in different majors. So Blake, what was your experience like?
So applying to Waterloo it's pretty simple. There's a lot of prerequisite courses that you needed. I'm in science and aviation. There's another aviation program called geography and aviation. So depending on which one you're taking, there's different prereqs. But essentially, you've got to get those prereqs done, and I believe the admission average is actually just the low 80s. So you don't really need to be like a super smart kid. I was definitely around like the mid 80s around for my grades. And then once you have those prereqs, you basically just go on to, in Ontario, all of the universities are done through OUAC. I forgot
Yeah,
what it's called.
OUAC.
Something. Center,
What
I
is
guess.
that?
And then, yeah, so you apply on there and you list the program you want and everything. You pay the admissions fee and your application goes through. And after a while, you also have to submit something called an admissions information form, which is just basically a short one-page essay about like why you want to go to Waterloo and all of that.
Sorry to interrupt, but what is OUAC? Could you explain to the audience
It's
a
like
little
this.
bit?
It's just this website where it's Ontario University Admissions something. I don't know what the C stands for.
So it's a lot of universities.
Yeah. So essentially, every university or college in Ontario is all listed on this one website, and you just like select the one you want and the program you want. So it's actually pretty convenient, pretty easy to use. Yeah. So once I got in, I was super hyped. College life was it was a change. I did a gap year after high school, so I didn't go into university right away. I wanted to like take a bit to just kind of reflect and see what I wanted to do. So I came to Waterloo totally blind. I didn't know anyone there except for Ricky, and I didn't see him until like October.
Yeah, that's true.
And yeah, so I had to like totally start from scratch and make new friends. But the first week of university is orientation week. You kind of get there's like a bunch of activities and things around campus, and it's just a really hype time. And like it's like a really good opportunity to just like meet the first couple of friends, and you kind of go from there. I think the biggest difference for me in terms of high school and university is time management, and this is still something I like kind of struggle with, but you definitely have a lot more leniency in high school. I feel like in high school you have the attitude that's like, oh shoot, I have a test tomorrow, better start studying for that now. That's not really gonna fly at university. You gotta put in the work, and no one's gonna remind you. No one's gonna baby you in university. If you're gonna skip class in university, no one's gonna take attendance. So it's really up to you to own your own learning and to make a schedule for yourself and like give time for yourself to prepare for exams and things like that. And I be honest when I say like I struggled with that in my first term, and I still sort of struggle with that, but it's this learning process, and you really like it does take a lot of from what I've talked to from like people who are in higher years, like it does take a little bit to like get into that. And then the other thing as well is like within aviation, I have to like balance my schoolwork and the flying portion as well. So for me, when I arrived in September, I started my night rating. So obviously night rating, I would have to be flying at night. I might have a class that ends at like 3, and then I get to the airport around like 7. So like I have some time in between to study. And then I'm done my flight at around like 11 p.m. So there's a lot of like trying to find time between like classes and flights to like get your studying done. Because I don't want to be up like past 11 p.m. and like trying to study at like 3 in the morning. Though I have done that before. It's not
So the most important takeaway is time management, and especially in college, it's more like a consistent effort rather than a sudden burst of energy to study for tomorrow's test.
You gotta like make your own schedule. It's not done for you. I mean, you have your class schedule, but other than that, it's like everything in between that needs to be like structured in your own like day-to-day life. So that was the biggest change for me.
For sure. Make us do you have a schedule for yourself? Like, what's your schedule like daily before the global pandemic?
Yeah. So like, assuming like I usually did most of my flying in the evening, so I would wake up around, assuming I had like an 8:30 class, I would wake up around 7ish, do my day-to-day stuff, and then I'd have an 8:30 class. Usually on average I'd have about 2 to 3 classes a day. So that's another change in high school, from high school. And in between, like, I'll have lunch, and I'll try and find some study time. So like, yeah, like before a class, I might just review my notes and things like that. Or if I have like an exam coming up, I'll put aside time to study for that. And then and then once that's all done, I'll have to go home, get changed into my uniform that we wear for flying, and we'll head to the airport and fly. So
cool. Ricky, you still with us? Yeah. Is your experience similar to Blake's?
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. It is.
It's like it cuts off sometimes, but then it goes back to normal.
Yeah, we want to hear
Wait,
you talk,
can you hear
man.
me?
Yeah, we
can
hear
hear
you. How did you apply to Waterloo? How did you get into the co-op program?
What's pretty much the exact same process as the lake here. So yeah, the OUAC, Ontario University's application center. I don't even know.
I gotta look.
But it's pretty much like a centralized platform for like all the Ontario universities and colleges. So just apply through that. And for Waterloo, at least, yeah, like Blake mentioned, you have to complete this AIF, admissions information form. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's pretty much like a supplementary like application on top of your normal application. So it's mostly just focused towards like what type of personality you are, or like what type of person you are, what your interests are, what your extracurriculars you're doing, sort of along the lines of that, like off of academic things. So that's the AIF. For other universities, it's probably like different, but I think most applications require something like that. But yeah, co-op program is the same application as any other program. You just have to like check this box that you're applying for the co-op program instead. Other than that, I would say, yeah, the biggest takeaway for applications wise is to do your research on what you want to do, where you want to go, and mainly like think about, let's say like 1, 2, 3, 4 years down the line, would you have made a different choice? If yes, then that's probably not the right choice. So mostly do your homework. Look at all the universities. Don't just look at like the major ones like Waterloo, Toronto, UBC, I don't know, UVic, SFU, like those big names. Obviously look at the smaller universities. Some of those are really, really good as well. So like a big example is like UNBC. I'm pretty sure not a lot of people have heard of that, but it's University of Northern British Columbia. Yeah. It's in like Prince George, I think, or Prince Rupert. Yeah. But that university is really good for like things like environmental studies. If you want to go into that, obviously that university is a really good university compared to something like SFU. Maybe SFU is not the right choice. So like, don't just go for the big names. Big names are obviously big names because they're better at like a lot of general subjects, but maybe more specialized subjects, go to the smaller ones. And those have like smaller classes too. So you'll probably have a slightly better learning experience. So that's
do your research and look ahead and see if you would have made a different choice 4 years later. And then if yes, then the university might not be for you, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
How's the course rigor for?
So
yeah,
I'm gonna log off. But super nice talking to all of you. But
all right.
Oh, good to see you, Blake. It's so good to have you. All right, he's gone.
There was actually one thing I forgot to say regarding if you do regarding the aircraft maintenance course at BCIT. There's actually 3 different kinds of maintenance courses. So the one that I went to is category M, maintenance, but there's also category E, electrical. So that's more into the avionics of aircraft. And there's also category S, which is structures, which is more of like the frame and the skin of the aircraft and like riveting and sheet metal work. So yeah, so just for anybody who's interested in those kinds of courses, there's actually more than one kind of aircraft maintenance course that BCIT provides.
Sorry, there was a word that you said when you said the E. What was that again?
So E is for electrical. So that deals with a lot of the avionics of aircraft.
Avionics. What is that word?
So like let's say you have a digital display on an aircraft, or let's see, there's also some instruments that are more towards electronics rather than the more old-fashioned kind. Let's see, I'm trying to remember what else. Yeah, so I mean, I guess, yeah, so overall, it's just more of the electrical of aircraft. That's what category E is. And something you're going to specialize in is testing electricals on aircraft, using multimeters, doing maybe some soldering of some wires, just overall electrical work on aircraft. And then the other one that I said is category S, which is structures, which is more on like the skin and like the frame of the aircraft. But for me, the one that I took was the more general one, where you actually learn a bit of both categories, which is M, which is the more general one.
Right. And
Alan,
we just lost Ricky, but
we've just lost Ricky, but
he went off to start his own business, but that's fine.
So the program at BCIT, aircraft maintenance, do you graduate in 2 years? Is that?
Yeah. So the thing with this is, it is 16 months of studying, but the thing is, you will be credited for 18 months, as if you were there for 18 months. And the thing with this is, I hope it's not too complicated, but the thing is, after you graduate the program, you don't actually get your maintenance license. You're starting off as an apprentice, or like / an intern. So you don't actually have your mechanic's license yet, but you're starting off as an apprentice. And in order to qualify for your license, you need to take a test later on in 30 months after you've worked for 30 months. Or let's say, like what I did was, since like I told you earlier, BCIT is crediting me for 18 months, right? Instead of, so I'm being credited 18 months, and that 18 is gonna go into my 30 months total for me to qualify for my license. So now that I've finished my 18 months of school, which is gonna qualify, then I still have what is that? 18. No, actually, wait, it's more than that. Sorry. I'm trying to remember. So anyways, the thing is, after I finish my course, I still have about 2.5 years until I have to take my test. Until I have to take my Transport Canada exam. And if I pass that, then I'm a fully licensed mechanic. So there's actually like a whole process to it.
Even after you graduate?
Yeah. So after I graduate, you take the path as an apprentice. And once you finish your 2.5 to 3 years of apprenticeship, that's when you can take a test for Transport Canada. And if you pass that, then you're a fully licensed mechanic. So that's the whole process of it.
Yay. We got Ricky back.
Okay.
Have you back
again?
Hello again. So Panetta or Benedict just talked about the 3 different divisions of the aircraft maintenance, and how even though it's a 2-year program, even after you graduate, you still need further qualifications to be a fully licensed engineer.
Yeah, so it's basically you go through school, and then you have to go through your apprenticeship. And once you finish your apprenticeship, you can take a test to qualify for your full license. And yeah, definitely takes time.
Yeah, Ricky, could you hear us?
Yep.
Good.
So is that process any different for you, Ricky, at Waterloo? Or is it kind of follow the same structure as well?
It kind of follows the same structure, but once you graduate, you're not really considered like an engineer like title per se, because you're more. It's kind of like if you think along the lines of medical school. So like once you graduate, like let's say you go to like more of like a medical school grad or medical school graduate, right? You have to go into what is called like EIT, so it's engineer in training. That you're working, I think it's like
Well, I think we
It's cutting out.
around 4 years under an actual like assisting them in like tasks. Did I cut off?
Yeah, you cut off quite a bit.
Do you want to go back to EIT? I think it was.
Dude. After COVID-19.
Well, I think we
Yeah, I think he got the point across. After COVID-19,
Yeah, that
pause.
was-
Just
My
silence.
Wi-Fi just
Deadpan silence.
died.
Oh,
Yeah.
Dude, the quarantine, I swear, the quarantine, everyone is at home, so then now the internet is so choppy all the time.
Ricky, are you living at home right now? I guess so. Everyone's like, they're supposed to be out of their Waterloo dorms, right?
oops.
Can
Oh,
you hear me now?
Yeah.
Bruh.
Ricky,
Yeah,
I see some trophies and plaques behind
yeah,
you.
those are from. Yeah, so those are all the achievements from like previous years. I just hung them up. This is like because I'm staying at home right now. I don't even use this room technically anymore because I'm always at school or on a work term. But yeah, back to what I was about after you graduate. So yeah, you work as an EIT engineer in training, and then you're kind of just transitioning into becoming like a professional EIT, professional engineers test, which is different for like all of the jurisdictions in Canada. So like BC, you'd have to like go under APEG BC, which is Architects, Professional Engineers, and Geologists of BC, which is like the society for BC. And like Ontario for example, is PEO, like Professional Engineers of Ontario. But yeah, you take this test, and then after that, if you pass, then you can use the title professional engineer, so P-Eng, and you're now considered like a professional working at whatever company you may choose. And with that title, I guess the main responsibility is that with that title, you're kind of like legally responsible for what you do and what you accomplish. So a big role in that is like signing off like documents or drawings or whatever you may need to sign, because once you sign that, then you're authorizing that to go into production, or you're authorizing that to go on ahead and to go on to sell or something like that. So yeah, that's the big process.
Sounds like a lot of work.
Wow.
Yep, it is a lot of work.
Wow. 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 So I can imagine there's got to be a lot of entrepreneurs that come out of Waterloo from
Yeah.
from your program.
Yeah, that's actually a big one, because every school has it, but it's like this like incubator program where you can like shoot up any like business idea you want or like think of, and then they'll like provide some contests to provide funding for you if you need some funding, for example. So yeah.
Are you currently working
And
on
especially
any?
since it's so close to Toronto. Toronto is like Canada's global hub.
Yeah, like
So cool.
Toronto. You know, like Ottawa. Yeah, Ottawa is cool. Is the capital, but Toronto. You know the Drake meme. Ottawa, Toronto.
Sure. Wait,
And
what?
Waterloo. The Waterloo is actually a city, right?
Yeah, it's the city.
It's
like
I think it's a 3-hour drive
like
away from Waterloo. Oh, sorry, from Toronto.
it's shorter. It's much shorter. It's like it's like only a 1-hour drive.
Oh,
It's like a medium-sized city. I would say, for like the listeners, it's kind of like if you compare, like if you live in Vancouver, then if you drive over to like, I don't know, Abbotsford or something like that, it's kind of like an hour-ish, and then it's a fairly medium-sized city, but it's still close to like the major downtown core and all that. So yeah. And like the transit network over in like GTA, Greater Toronto Area, is like pretty advanced. Like there's like buses, trains, and like they have a much bigger link to everywhere. So it's pretty easy to get around. So
Ricky, I tried to ask you this earlier, but I guess you didn't hear me. Are you currently working on any projects? Are you currently with any friends working on something?
Yeah. So speaking of projects, there's actually like there's a bunch of clubs or like design teams, as they're called, that you can also join when you go to Waterloo. You don't even have to be like an engineer. You could be in like business, or you could be interested in like math, and you can still join the design teams. But pretty much what the design teams are aimed for is like kind of like extracurricular projects when you're in high school. So a lot of design teams may participate in like international competitions. So for example, a big one is like a solar car racing team. So you can pretty much obviously see the engineering side of things, the business side of things, and then like the physics and all that. So that's a huge like team at our school. Another big one is like alternative fuels. So you investigate different fuels that might start coming up in the future, and you apply them to like a car. So the team did like hydrogen fuel in the past. This year and more recent years, they've been mainly focusing on electric, because that's the big thing for now. But
For sure.
yeah, there's actually one project that I'm currently working on with a few people all over Canada. It's more of like an environmental project. So if any of you know, there's this technology called carbon capture, utilization, and sequestration. So pretty much what it does is that it, like in a nutshell, it just sucks carbon dioxide out of the air and then just buries it. Okay. But
Yeah.
mainly that's for the sequestration side of things, where you just kind of bury it back into the grounds to complete the carbon cycle. But the utilization is mostly what we're focusing on right now. So we're kind of combining it with different fuel synthesis technology that is already in place. And we're investigating to see if it's viable to produce synthesized fuel from the carbon that you capture from, like, let's say a carbon capture, direct air capture machine. So yeah, it's pretty interesting what we're looking at right now. And right now we're just mostly in like the research phases, of seeing like what processes we need.
Mhm.
We're creating like a big lab manual to see if we can conduct such experiment, and yeah, we'll see where it goes from there.
And if it were to happen, would it be like a big tube you just with a fan in it, sucks air in, gets all the carbon?
Yeah, pretty much. It's so like the main way that they capture carbon right now is through DAC, direct air capture. So that's what you're thinking of when they have like the big fan, and then they just put it in like, I don't know, the middle of nowhere, like Squamish or something, and then they just literally just pull the air through the fan through a filtration process and then capture the carbon that is from there. But there's also a different way, which is what we're focusing on. It's more of like a more direct way than DAC, because that way you're capturing air from literally like anywhere. So the air could have a carbon content of, I don't know, less than 1/1,000,000th or 1,000th of a percent. So it's very, very inefficient. But given like the big fan size, it's sort of feasible. But I think the better way would to be to use exhaust gases from from factories and all that. So the industrial sector of like a city, you could install a unit directly out of the exhaust of like a bunch of factories, and then of course that your carbon concentration is going to be much higher than if you were to use a DAC unit in like the middle of a field. So yeah, but of course that requires coordination with the company that you're going to work with, right? Because you're installing something onto their property, which might not even be what they want, because a lot of companies, that is a big investment, or that's a big cost to them. So they might not be that interested, something like that.
So would you say it's kind of like the things that you put on your car exhaust pipes, but
Yeah, I
filters
guess
the
so.
air,
Yeah.
but then you just put it on the big chimneys of the factories?
Yeah, I guess so, because you're converting it to a usable like carbon form, whereas yeah, so you're converting it into a usable carbon form which you can use to synthesize fuel through other processes. But for your car, at least, that only really just filters the air and turns carbon monoxide into carbon dioxide. So carbon monoxide is toxic, so if you convert it to carbon dioxide, it's less harmful. Yeah.
So do you think that's going to make a significant difference in the carbon levels in the atmosphere?
Definitely in the next like few years, probably not, because it's just a huge it's like a huge project and a huge investment for everyone globally. And right now the biggest problem with it is that it can't produce enough carbon or enough fuel through the synthesis methods to get to a level that is more feasible than what you get on the market today. So what you get on the market today is like, I think it's really cheap. It's like $4 a barrel or something like that. So obviously if you need to get below $4 through that big of a process, it's going to take a while. And but definitely in the future, maybe like way off in the future, it'll be a good tech to use, especially with like the COVID-19 pandemic and how the oil price dropped into the negatives like a month ago, I think. So that's going to drive forward like research towards greener tech. So yeah.
So basically, if you capture the carbon from the air, it's got to go somewhere. It's not going to disappear.
Yeah,
like
obviously.
you make it into usable
Yeah.
energy. But at the moment, that energy, it's not efficient and it's very expensive compared to the normal fuel we have.
Yeah, and it's not a very impressive tech to, let's say, a random company, because why would they buy a piece of tech that will just
Cost of
will
money.
just cost money and pretty much do nothing for them in return, right? All
Mhm.
companies work on the idea of like a return on investment. So if they're going to invest into something, they better get something in return, which is a big problem right now. So that's why I think not a lot of companies do it. In fact, there's only two companies in the whole world right now that do CCU, CCS. One is in Squamish, one is in Switzerland, I think.
I do have high hopes for it though,
Yeah.
because, for example, like in Canada, I think. Sorry, is it in Canada? I don't know, but if you buy a Tesla, the government like gives you some money back. So maybe it could be like a social pressure thing. Like if the factory doesn't use this, we're not buying stuff from that comes from the factory.
True. Yeah, I think that could be an incentive as well. But then you probably have to like check to make sure their claims are true or something. But yeah, I see where that's coming from. Yeah.
And do you see the big filtration systems be on top of cow farms? Because like cows, they produce around like way more than airplanes, cars, and factories combined, right?
Oh yeah. That's also an interesting topic, because I think cows and like the agriculture sector in general is just, they have their own problems, and then because cows produce like I think methane, so
Methane,
if there's a way to like capture that, because methane is like natural gas is pretty much just methane, right? It's 94% methane or something like that. So I don't know, probably in the future they'll probably develop some technology to capture that, but who knows.
So it's the methane comes out of cow farts, right?
Yeah.
So what if you make cow diapers?
How would you even like capture that though?
You put a diaper on the cows.
Or like, and then hook it up to like a central like system in your barn or something.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you're the engineer here.
But that sounds like sounds like a whole new slew of problems.
Yeah. No, yeah. Once you make something, you'll find out there's problems along the way.
Well, we're almost hitting the 2-hour mark. So, are there anything else you guys want to say to the podcast, or any advice you want to give to the cadets that are listening to this? Wants to work in the industry?
Let's see. I guess for me, I want to talk about cadets. Just do as much as you can in the program, because honestly, there's some pretty awesome stuff that you can do. So just try out some, even if it's something that you don't know, like marksmanship. Then you've never tried it before. Go have a try, and see if you like it. But if you don't like that, it's okay. There's still a lot of other things that you can do in the program. So
that's pretty much what I was going to say as well. For the program, at least for the cadet program, there's a lot to do, and don't think that there's a limited amount of things to do, because there is quite a lot of things you can do. So like range, there's like biathlon, there's first aid, all that. You can learn a lot of things through the cadet program, and I definitely did myself. And especially if you're into like the aviation side of things, go ahead and apply for like GPS, PPS, even if it's not those main two. You can also apply for like AM, AO. Those are quite interesting as well, because like AM, aircraft maintenance, you can pretty much directly go into Benedict's program, like AME, which is really good if you're interested into in like the maintenance side of things. So my biggest piece of advice would to be get involved with what you're interested in.
Great. And I have the final question. I think really simple. I hope you all know the answer. Who's the best?
That's a good one. That's a good one. I haven't forgotten. So
754.
754.
That was a really delayed answer.
That's what times 3.
EAND. You guys still do that?
Yeah, Dan still does.
Do
that.
they?
they still do that.
Oh, that's
Okay,
good.
for the
That's good.
viewers, that's it for us today. See you on the next
Hey.
episode.
What's the next episode?
I don't know.
Good
Maybe.
question.